This is my first video update coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Sunday morning. Let's talk about Henry Kissinger's peace proposal for Ukraine. So the former U.S. Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, he has penned an article on The Spectator with the title, How to Avoid Another World War. And he puts together his idea for a peace plan in Ukraine. And in this article, Kissinger, he talks about how we need to have an urgent cessation to hostilities because we have two nuclear powers fighting it out in Ukraine, and this is a very dangerous situation. And Kissinger concedes, he admits that this is not really even about Ukraine. This is about Russia taking on the collective West, and Ukraine is just kind of caught in the middle. It's just a proxy, a pawn in what is a fight between Russia and the United States. And Kissinger says that we have to stop the fighting right away and begin negotiating. And this is Kissinger's idea of a peace proposal. And I'm going to summarize what Kissinger is proposing for a negotiated settlement to the conflict in Ukraine. Kissinger says that once we have a cessation of hostilities, then Russia, they need to concede to the fact that Ukraine will enter NATO. They have to accept Ukraine's membership into NATO. Kissinger says that given everything that has happened, all the events that have taken place, Kissinger argues that it's impossible for Ukraine not to be part of NATO. So Russia has to accept the fact that Ukraine will come under NATO's orbit, will be part of NATO's architecture. Kissinger then says that the collective West, the United States and Europe, they need to accept the fact that Russia has a say in Europe's future security. So he argues that once hostilities are stopped and negotiation begins, that the collective West, they shouldn't brush aside Russia's concerns and they shouldn't push Russia away from Europe. What they need to do is they need to allow Russia to take part in what would be some sort of European security architecture that would be formulated, that would be put together during negotiations. So it's not about vanquishing Russia and kicking Russia out of Europe, but the collective West has to agree to listen to Russia and to let Russia play a role in Europe's security future. So that's what the collective West has to accept. Kissinger then says that Kherson and Zaporozhye, they have to go back to Ukraine. And he says once you have a cessation in hostilities and you're negotiating, Donetsk, Lugansk, and Crimea as part of the negotiations, those three regions, now get this, those three regions should organize a referendum and they should be allowed to decide whether they want to be part of Russia or part of Ukraine. And according to Kissinger, the results of that referendum would be accepted by the international community, i.e. the collective West. When he says international community, he means the collective West. This is Kissinger's peace plan for Ukraine. In other words, in summary, Kissinger's peace plan is worse than the Minsk agreements. It's worse than the Minsk agreements. Why Russia would even entertain such a proposal, why Kissinger would even write such a proposal is beyond me. You would think that Kissinger has a better understanding of the geopolitical events surrounding Ukraine, but obviously not. it would be impossible for Russia to, on a constitutional level, to give over Kherson and Zaporozhye, because under the Russian constitution, those regions are now part of the Russian Federation. So I don't even know how that would work. To agree to a referendum for Donetsk, Lugansk, and Crimea would lead to an immediate collapse of the Putin government. I don't even know how that would work. And to concede, accept that NATO gets Ukraine, I think you're going back to what started one of the main drivers of this conflict to begin with, which was Elensky's refusal to just keep Ukraine neutral. So this is obviously a ridiculous peace proposal. Actually, Kissinger floated pretty much the same proposal in an article that he put together like 6 months ago, and no one took it seriously. No one's going to take this proposal seriously either. The Kremlin spokesman Peskov, he was actually asked to comment on this article from Kissinger, because Putin does have a friendly relationship with Kissinger, and Peskov said, it's an interesting article. We'll give it a read, and that's that. We'll read it over, and he said, that's that. I mean, he was basically just kind of being polite, diplomatic, because it is Kissinger that wrote this article. He was diplomatic in his response, but he was pretty much saying, this is a joke. This is a joke of a proposal put together by the former U.S. Secretary of State. Actually, the first article that Kissinger wrote, like 6 months ago, landed him on the peacemaker Miro Tvoret's hit list, the Elensky regime SBU hit list, and it landed him on that website targeted for liquidation, because back then, 6 months ago, he actually floated the idea of the possibility that Donetsk, Lugansk, and Crimea would actually have a referendum to see if they wanted to join Russia or to be part of Ukraine. And because he put that idea out there, the Elensky regime and the SBU, they put him on the website, and they said, time to go after this guy. So they put him on the Peacemaker website hit list. But yeah, it's a ridiculous proposal. It's a no-go. Why would Russia agree to a worse deal than the Minsk agreements? These are Minsk agreements that Angela Merkel and Poroshenko and the collective West has admitted by their own admission that the Minsk agreements were just a way to buy Ukraine time so that they can rearm themselves and be used as a battering ram against Russia, as Putin puts it. Ukraine was being used as a battering ram to destroy Russia, and Merkel, Poroshenko, they admitted as much, that the Minsk agreements were a con job. They were never planning to enforce the Minsk agreement. So why would Russia agree to a worse Minsk agreement? Doesn't make any sense. Why would Russia agree to a peace proposal, which essentially is a surrender, when Russia is winning the war on the ground in Ukraine? The Ukraine economy is on the verge of collapse. The electric grid is on the verge of collapse. Elensky is starting to panic about his own position as president. The EU is crumbling from sanctions. Why would Russia agree to something like this? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Zero sense at all. But that's what Kissinger is floating out there. This is his carrot to Russia. This is the collective West carrot to Russia. They're using a carrot stick approach in their mind, in their diplomatic mind. They're kind of saying, you know what, we'll hit Russia with a stick, ninth sanctions package and the threat of tribunals and stuff like that. Media demonization, that'll be our stick against Russia. Patriot missile systems in Ukraine. And then we'll get Kissinger to float out a carrot, which is a peace proposal something akin to the Minsk agreements, but just a notch worse than the Minsk agreements. That'll be our proposal to Russia, so that we could wind this conflict down. So, that's Kissinger's proposal. As I said, Kherson Zaporozhye is a no-go right away, because you would be going against the Russian Constitution. I mean, under the Constitution, all of these regions are part of Russia. And why would you have another referendum for Crimea? Crimea was settled back in 2014. Anyway, there's going to be no peace when you have the number one geopolitical strategist and thought leader of the collective West. I mean, Kissinger's he's like the gold standard of geopolitical thought, policy making, strategy. When this is what he comes up with, then the collective West has zero desire to wind this war down at the negotiating table. This is not serious. This is not a serious proposal. These are not serious ideas for peace. These ideas are not even grounded in reality, and the reality of the situation right now is that Ukraine is in big trouble. The missile strikes last week on Ukraine's electric grid, they did a lot of damage. I mean, a lot of damage. We're getting reports that 50% of Ukraine's electric grid is out long term. Like, Russia really knocked it out in a big way. And of course, it's cumulative. It's just, every other week, the missile strikes are they're degrading the electric system more and more, to the point of another, I don't know, maybe another two missile strikes, another two waves of missile strikes will probably just knock the whole thing down, like a boxing match. You're just two punches away, two more jabs away from just, knocking the opponent out. That is where Ukraine finds itself. The cost of keeping the Ukrainian economy afloat is just getting to the point of impossible for the collective West. Even the, I think it was the Washington Post, they ran an article saying that the United States is now telling their European partners that the 2 billion, the 18 billion loan, or the 2 billion a month that they have earmarked to pay the salaries of the Elensky regime and keep the government afloat, not money that's going to go to the war effort, money that's going to go just to keep the Ukraine economy's head above water. This 18 billion loan that the EU is getting is not enough. They're saying you got to give more than that. 1 or 2 billion a month is not going to cut it. They're like saying 3 billion or 4 billion. And pretty soon it'll be 7, 8 billion a month. This is money that the EU has admitted they don't have. They had to get the 18 million for 2023. They had to get a loan for that. They had to take out a loan, the EU, in order to give that money to Ukraine and then loan it to Ukraine. So Ukraine's economy is in shambles. Actually, an interesting point, going back to the missile strikes last week, just to highlight how bad things are getting for Ukraine. We're getting reports from Russian media that while the missiles, the 76 missiles, did seriously damage Ukraine's electric grid, the missiles also took out Ukraine's air defense systems as well. They knocked out, from what I understand, 2 or 3 S-300 air defense installations as well. And it looks like the Russian military now is not only going to be knocking out Ukraine's electric grid, but it looks like they've changed up their strategy just a bit, or maybe they've added on to their strategy a bit, which is that they're starting to go after Ukraine's air defense systems. It seems like they've figured out where these S-300s are, and they're targeting those now for destruction. And if they take out whatever remains of Ukraine's air defense systems, well then, It just leaves the skies over Ukraine 100% open. So Elensky isn't going to be able to come out with statements like, what did he say the other day? 76 missiles were sent into Ukraine by the Russians, and we knocked out 60. That's what he said. He said 16 missiles got through. That's obviously not the case, but even if it was 16 missiles, boy, did those 16 missiles do a lot of damage. And if the Russians did indeed take out 2 or 3 S-300 air defense systems of Ukraine, well, then that means that you're not even going to be able to push that narrative out there if you're Zelensky, because you're not going to have any air defense left. And the Patriot systems and everything else that they're giving to Ukraine, that stuff is not going to it's not going to be ready. It's not going to be capable of stopping what the Russians are throwing at Ukraine. So the situation is getting very, very bad, and it all points to something big happening in the new year. I mean, it's crystal clear that the Russians are maybe 2 to 3 to 4 weeks away from knocking out whatever defenses Ukraine has, and then probably making their move. That's the way it looks. Could be wrong, but if I had to guess as to how things are going, this looks like the direction that we're heading towards. And I thought that was interesting. That you are getting reports that Russia is really going after the air defenses of Ukraine. Anyway, Kissinger wasn't the only one that was talking about Ukraine. Jake Sullivan, he was giving a speech at the Carnegie Institute think tank, something like that. And Sullivan said that there's no plans for peace. He says it's out of the question. He said the time is not right now. That's what Sullivan said, something along those lines. The time is not right. And Sullivan argued that, look, he said, here's the deal. Our job as the United States of America is to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons and the money that it needs, so that when it is time to negotiate, Ukraine has leverage over Moscow. That was his way of looking at things. We're going to continue to fund Ukraine, give them weapons, keep them fighting the Russians, so that eventually, when we do get to the point of negotiations, and he says that they are going to get to a point of negotiations, that's what Sullivan is saying, when we do get to the negotiating table, then Ukraine is going to have leverage over Russia. And so, Sullivan said that the time is just not now. The timing is not right for that to take place. If you're Sullivan, why would you negotiate a peace with Russia at all? I mean, I was thinking about this as I was reading his statements. Why would you care to negotiate a peace with Russia if you're like one of these neocons or neoliberal globalists? If you're Sullivan or Newland or Blinken, one of these guys, you've gotten to the point now with your Ukraine project where you might as well just go for the hope strategy. Hope that you get some sort of a regime change or something happens, because you're Sullivan, and you're saying to yourself, you know what? Even if all of Ukraine collapses, even if Russia wins outright, even if Europe collapses, nothing's going to happen to me. If anything, I'm going to get promoted up. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to get a promotion out of this, whichever way it goes. So we might as well just keep, Ukraine is far away. Europe is far away. Just keep them fighting. And who knows? Maybe we'll get some sort of regime change. Maybe we'll get some sort of miracle and something will happen. That's what you say if you're these guys. You don't face any consequences for your terrible decisions. The neocons and neoliberals, they've never been punished for everything that they've done. Whether it's Iraq WMDs or Libya or Afghanistan or Syria, did anyone Did anything happen to anybody with regards to Afghanistan and Biden's terrible pullout out of Afghanistan? Did anything happen there, or the 20 years of occupation of Afghanistan or Iraq WMDs? No, Bolton was involved in Iraq, and Bolton became part of Trump's White House. Pompeo the same, Sullivan the same, Newland was 2014 F the EU, and she's back. Deputy Undersecretary of State, promotion. So if you're these guys, I mean, I think of Sullivan's position and I say, just let them go at it. At this point in time, the way we've gone about this, just let them go at it. In worst case scenario, if Ukraine collapses and it all goes to crap for me and my plans, if I'm Sullivan, for my plans, if it all goes to what, I'll just have the media, they don't have to report it. Maybe they'll dedicate 5 minutes. I'll have CNN dedicate maybe 2 or 3 minutes of airtime to the Ukraine story, and it'll be, memory hold. Europe, okay, Europe's going to be in a terrible position, but once again, if you're the United States, you look at Europe and you say, we've gotten everything we've wanted out of Europe. I mean, Europe's been a win for us. Europe is completely now dependent on us. So, Europe, we got the deindustrialization. Our goal for Europe, we've already accomplished it. So now all we have is Ukraine, and let them go at it. That's what you say if you're these neocons. Anyway, that was Sullivan's comments there. And Olaf Scholz, on the other hand, well, Olaf Scholz, being a European leader, well, he is concerned. He's concerned about what's happening in Ukraine, and in his own clumsy, dim-witted way, he's trying to find an off-ramp. So like last week, he made statements along the lines of, Russia is going to lose this war, but we have to be generous as we negotiate with Russia in their defeat, and we have to allow Russia to be part of Europe. And the other day, Scholz gave an interview to, I believe it was a magazine in Germany called SSZ magazine, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it's not important. He gave an interview to another magazine in Germany, and this time around, he said that Europe needs to talk to Russia to end the conflict. He's kind of changing his tune a little. He's step by step. He's starting to change his outlook on things, his public outlook on things, and he's starting to admit that, look, we need to get to a negotiation. Otherwise, me as chancellor, my government, we're gone. We're bye-bye. And I think he realizes that. I mean, I think he definitely realizes that. And he's trying now to figure out, how do I get an off-ramp out of this? So in this interview, let me see if I have some quotes handy here. Scholz is basically saying, look, we're going to have to negotiate with Russia, and we're going to have to talk to Russia, and that's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. He said, what is important is that despite major differences in our positions, we do not let the thread of talks with Russia be broken. If we do not talk, Russia would be even less likely to end the war. When he was asked about when there could be a window for negotiations, Scholz said that the time has actually long since come. Scholz also expressed his hope that once this war is over and we are dealing with a different Russia capable of making peace, we may be able to live together again. He did not elaborate on what he meant by a different Russia. He means a regime change Russia. They're still hoping for that miracle, regime change, hopium. That's why Sullivan is saying, let them continue to fight. See, Sullivan's approach is this. The U.S.'s approach to Ukraine is simple. Let them go at it. Elensky, just keep on sending troops to Bakhmut. We don't care. Keep on sending troops to Bakhmut. Just buy us time. Buy us another 3 months, 6 months, another year. EU, send more money to Ukraine. 18 billion is not enough. Send them 36 billion. We don't care. Take out a loan. Do whatever you need to do. We don't care if EU citizens are cold or if they have no hot water. We don't care. We just want you guys to extend this war out because maybe we're going to get some sort of regime change miracle. And Scholz is taking a different approach. He's saying, I hope we get a regime change miracle. I hope we get a different Russia. If we could just get a different Russia, then my behind would be saved. But we have to talk to Russia still. He's like, we have to talk to Russia. But please, please, please let it be a different Russia. Please, please, please. I know we have to talk to Russia. I know we're losing. I know that I'm going to go down in history as just an awful chancellor, as just a dim-witted chancellor. But please, 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 can we get a different Russia? He wants an off-ramp, but he's hoping for that regime change. Hopium. This is the hope strategy now. The collective West has entered the hope strategy phase. Europe cares. The United States, whatever. We're not going to get fired over it, so, it's fine. They're going to target Iran next. You can already see all the articles about Iran. You can already see that the deep state in the U.S. is already starting to focus its attention on Iran. Every day now we're getting articles about Iran. Iran this, Iran that. Iran is providing drones. Iran is providing missiles to Russia. The relationship between Iran and Russia is too cozy every week now. Even Burns, the CIA Burns, said that this is very troubling. The new friendship, the new alliance, he said, between Iran and Russia is very troubling. So you can see that they're already starting to say, maybe we need to pivot a little bit towards Iran now, and just dump the Ukraine failure onto the Europeans. And the Europeans, they have nowhere to go anyway. They're going to be our subservience anyway. So they can deal with it. Let them take out loans to fund Elensky. So that's Scholz, and that was his latest statements. And Scholz was actually a story that came out last week was that Canada, they put sanctions back on those turbines, those Nord Stream turbines. Canada, the U.S., and Germany, they agreed to re-sanction those turbines, those Nord Stream turbines. So Canada removed the sanctions on those turbines under the thought that they would fix up the turbines. Siemens would fix them up from Canada, send them to Germany, and then Germany would send them to Russia. Anyway, they never made their way to Russia for various reasons. And then Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 got blown up. But even though Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 has been blown up, they've decided last week, which is really weird, they decided to place sanctions back on those turbines. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but my feeling there is the damage on Nord Stream 2 is a lot, but I think Nord Stream 1, if I'm not mistaken, either 1 or 2 can be fixed up or can be put back in operation. And I just think that Blinken is just kind of, crossing his T's and dotting his I's and saying, you know what, let's just make sure we still have those turbines sanctioned. There's no possibility whatsoever of any type of Nord Stream repairs going forward in the future, in the foreseeable future. Let's just make sure that there's never, ever going to be a turbine fix up. There's never going to be anything like that. We don't even want to give Germany the impression, the hope that one day Nord Stream is going to come back online. So let's tell Trudeau to sanction these turbines. And actually, Germany, from what I understand, Scholz went along with it. Scholz was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So once again, Scholz, weak, dim-witted. So I'm sure Scholz called up Trudeau to let Trudeau know that those sanctions, they have to be put back in place on those turbines. Ring, ring. Yeah. Justin, this is Olaf. Oh, hey, Olaf. How you doing? I'm doing good, Justin. Listen up. Anthony Blinken, he just called me, and he told me that we have to place sanctions on those turbines. Turbines? What turbines? Those 5 or 6 turbines, Trudeau, that Siemens was supposed to be fixing in Canada for Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. Remember those? Yeah. I remember what you're talking about, Olaf. Yeah. Well, Trudeau, we need you to place sanctions on those turbines. Okay, but I thought that we blew up Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. Trudeau, you idiot. Shh. How do you know this is a secure line? How do you know the Russians are not listening in? You're never, ever supposed to say we blew up those pipelines. Remember your script, Trudeau. We think Russia blew up those pipelines. Yeah, but Olaf, why would Russia blow up their own gas pipelines? Trudeau, you idiot. Just read your script. Read your script. We think Russia blew up those pipelines. Anyway, Trudeau, you're getting off course. What I need you to do is I need you to put sanctions on those turbines. Okay, Olaf, I still don't understand why we want to put sanctions on turbines for a pipeline that Russia blew up, but okay, I'll remove sanctions from those turbines. No, Trudeau, you idiot. Sanctions on the turbines, not off of the turbines, on the turbines. Trudeau, you're giving me a headache. Okay, Olaf, calm down. Calm down. Okay, I'll put sanctions on those turbines. Gee, everything that they want me to do, Klaus Schwab wants me to do this, you want me to do that. It's really, really tough being the Prime Minister of Canada. Okay, Trudeau, I really don't care. I've got my own problems to deal with. Germany is being deindustrialized, and I'm going to probably lose my job. I don't have time to listen to your whining. You know, Olaf, I thought you were a friend, and I thought that I could reach out to you and express my emotions to you as a friend, but obviously, all you care about is yourself. Olaf, I'll put those sanctions on those turbines, but not because you are ordering me to, but because Anthony Blinken is ordering me to. So I'll do Anthony this favor, but next time, Olaf, when you call, and I open up my emotions and my heart to you about the problems that I'm facing as Prime Minister of Canada, you could be a little more understanding. Trudeau, just put sanctions on those turbines, you idiot. Click. That's probably how the conversation went. Anyway, let's do a cloud world and we'll wrap it up. Clown world, let's see. Remember when I talked about how Putin canceling the press conference was going to lead to the collective West media talking about how Putin is sick and how, Putin is... The war is going badly, and Putin doesn't want to do the 3-4 hour press conference, the annual press conference, because he's got another heart attack or another disease or something. Well, I said that the media is going to jump on this, the collective West mainstream media. That's what they're going to run with, stories like this. And sure enough, that's what we're getting. We're getting all kinds of stories from CNN, the BBC, the Statesman. Let me see. I've got some stories pulled up here, which try to explain why Putin is not giving his year-end press conference. Why Vladimir Putin canceled his annual year-end press conference from the New Statesman. It is tempting to view the news announced by Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov on 12 December that Putin will not hold his annual press conference this year as evidence that the Russian president is nervous as his war against Ukraine founders. Perhaps he has realized that he has no answers to the questions that would inevitably come from the journalists who are watching the bodies of Russian soldiers arrive home week after week and speaking to the families of the mobilized men who have been sent to the front without proper training or equipment. Even the most highly choreographed performance would have to address the mounting costs and the dismal outlook for the war. Yet it is equally possible that Putin, who has now been in power for 22 years, has simply decided that he no longer designs to be questioned, and certainly not in public. To do so risks humiliation. Why put himself through the whole performance? He might well think, when he can issue sound bites to hand-picked interlocutors whenever he chooses, perhaps He can no longer be bothered to maintain the tedious charade of democracy. That is from the New Statesman. And I was listening to a Times radio. A viewer sent me a Times radio video where they discussed why Putin is canceling his year-end press conference. And the analyst on Times Radio said, well, it could be that Putin is just afraid to take questions because the war is going so badly for him, or perhaps he is suffering from another ailment, another sickness, and he just doesn't have the strength anymore to speak for 3 or 4 hours. He is coming towards the end of his tenure, and that is what the Times Radio analyst said. It is a combination of Putin's fear to take questions and his humiliation, his fear of getting humiliated with his war in Ukraine, along with his sickness, his latest sickness, and that is why Putin is canceling the press conference. So I thought that's an interesting update. We knew it was coming, that they were going to say that Putin is not giving his press conference because the war is going badly and or he's sick. But they've come out with the articles now, and they're starting to push that narrative. And the final clown world, the real clown world, is Elensky giving an interview to, I believe it's a French media outlet. I'm not sure which one, but he was giving an interview to this media outlet in French, and the interviewer, they asked Zelensky about Putin, and during the interview, Zelensky said that, you know what, he challenges Putin to a duel, and he said that a real man would accept a duel, mano a mano, one-on-one. And Elensky said that something along the lines of, Putin wouldn't come out of the fight with me in good shape. I'll find the video and I'll put a link down below for it because it's pretty funny. And the French interviewer was laughing, and he was really listening to Elensky give his answer about a duel with Putin. And Elensky at the end, he looked really serious. He was like, I'm going to, Putin better not accept my request for a fight, because he's gonna end up in really, really bad shape when I'm done with him. This is coming from Elensky. I think Elensky needs to lay off the you know what. He's starting to get these delusions of grandeur. Oh boy. I wonder if he knows that Putin is like a super duper judo master. I think Putin would wipe the floor with Zelensky anyway. Just ridiculous nonsense stuff. I mean, these types of statements from Elensky and these types of interviews from the West media, these are all just, this is all theater. It's all theater, and it's all tailor-made to play to the people that still believe that Zelensky is a hero and Ukraine is winning the war and all of this stuff. And so they come up with narratives like a duel between Zelensky and Putin and stuff like that. Anyway, that was an interesting clown world. I'll put a link to the video down below. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code Good Day. Coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Take care.